The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of the staff and management of KLAY or those who advertise their products or services on this station.
Welcome to Ask an Atheist, where despite all appearances of a couple days ago, we are still a show about atheism, skepticism, and the separation of church and state. We air every Sunday at 3 p.m. on KLAY 1180 in Tacoma and online on the tubes with the podcast and on the YouTube and everything else. With me today is Beth. How you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
And Mike. How you doing?
Okay.
Just okay.
Well, I want somebody to say that they're upset or something at that point. It's like, oh, everything's bad.
Oh, just once in a while?
Just
All right.
once in a while, just to shake things up.
Well, I know there are some folks on the internet who may be less or more happy with us because of our recent hijinks, given the April Fool's Day thing.
Our shenanigans?
Our shenanigans. Or rather, shenanigan. I mean, it was really singular. It was one post and a change. For those of you who are not following the website, April 1st is kind of an important day for atheists, as some people call it Atheism Day. As a few weeks ago, a couple of years ago, they had the atheism signs up on the bus ads. Bus ads are a big part of the atheist visibility movement. And somebody said every time we did it, every time somebody pulled off an ad, there was always near some holiday, like, oh, why are you doing this a week and a half from Ascension Sunday or something like that.
Ascension Sunday.
Yeah, and somebody sarcastically said on some blog somewhere, well, why didn't you guys do it on April 1st?
I believe that was Ray Comfort.
Was it Ray Comfort?
It was.
He actually the Banana Man.
Yes, the Banana Man. He actually sold bumper stickers with National Atheist Day, and then the quote from the Bible that said, only the fool says in his heart there is no God.
Did he leave out the quote in the Bible that says anyone who calls anyone else a fool is a fool themselves or whatever in Matthew?
Is that the principle in the Bible that I'm rubber, you're glue?
Yeah, exactly.
The commutative property of foolishness. But, well, as you might expect, the atheist community kind of liked it because April Fool's is fun. And for one day, I changed the top of the website to say Ask an Ex-Atheist, and I put a Catholic logo up there. And then I wrote a blog that had a secret message in it, which no one has yet decoded, so no one's gotten the no prize yet. But somebody was taken, at least one person was taken by it. And Ethan from Fairfax, Virginia writes, I grew up Catholic, so when I saw the papal logo, which I originally read as PayPal, when I saw that papal logo, I had to wonder if Opus Dei had hacked you. A little about me, I'm an atheist living in D.C., and I am married to a good brethren girl, look it up, and while I do not believe she certainly does. As such, she is concerned that I will never make it to paradise. I agree, which irks her. Moreover, she is disabled and finds the prospect of heaven alluring. My question, how to balance these contentious issues in an otherwise loving marriage? Well,
I don't know.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you do?
Well, I agree to disagree, come to some sort of mutual understanding. I know recently either there is a episode coming out or it is already out of Living After Faith, sort of a sister podcast to our show. And if you check it out at livingafterfaith.com, this is one of the topics that Ray. Wow, I just did that. Rich.
Ouch.
Rich.
Much higher caliber person.
Yeah, much higher caliber person.
Better facial hair, too.
I think I was thinking about a different Ray, not Ray Comfort. But anyway, this is one of those topics he discusses because it's a podcast about coming out, as an atheist after you've been religious, living after faith. So I invite people with those questions or with answers to that, to contact us or to check out that podcast.
Yeah, I know this is a question we do get fairly frequently. People who are wondering about a spouse who disagrees with them on this issue. One of them's religious and one of them is an atheist. I think that, obviously these people are already married and they're in a happy marriage. I think that sometimes, I can't speak as far as spouses go, but I can speak in terms of friends and family members, that sometimes you just have to come to an unspoken agreement that there are certain topics you just can't talk about without fighting. And as far as marriage goes, I think this is the sort of thing that you really do have to talk about before you get married, because what happens when there are children involved? And
Yeah, exactly. What if you have kids? At that point, something that seems trivial or just a difference of opinion does become a huge issue. Because, teaching your kids, you have to have some sort of consensus on that.
Yeah, the kids are going to ask certain questions, and if you're not ready with it, you don't want to end up getting into a fight where you're basically playing a game of tug of war with your kid. And I think it'd be best to try to avoid that if possible.
Well, I guess I would even retract that. You don't have to come to a consensus on anything and have children, but you at least have to know how you're going to address it. Because the most confusing thing for a kid is to have mom say one thing, dad say something else, and not have the discussion as to why mom and dad are saying two different things.
So maybe not a consensus on the afterlife or religion, but a consensus on sort of the operating parameters of raising a child?
Yeah, definitely. Just how are you going to talk about those topics that you don't agree on?
Right, right. Again, this is Ask an Atheist. Our phone number is 253-584-1480. And did you guys know we are looking at 48 days?
48 days?
48 days. Sadly, the end of the world comes after tax day. We're sorry, but we didn't plan it.
The inevitabilities kind of pile on each other there.
Absolutely.
Blame Jesus.
Taxes and then death.
Yeah, not the other way around, as is commonly believed.
Though if you believe in this and you are a tax cheat, win-win.
Fair point. I guess that we would call that the Kent Hovind effect?
If you folks aren't familiar with this is something we've been talking about for a very long time. And I'm sure if you listen to us a lot, you're probably sick of hearing about it, but there's a group out of California called Family Radio. They're a fundamentalist group. They're run by this guy named Harold Camper, who has made these claims before, but he's making them again, this time for real, that Jesus is going to be returning on May 21st,
Absolutely.
2011. So he wants to head off the Mayans on that one. And that it'll kick off the end times, and we're going to see all kinds of magical monsters until October 21st, where the world just ends. I don't know if it'll just explode like the Death Star or what. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I know I've been talking to Seattle Atheists about this because of the upcoming event we're going to be working on, and they're going to also do sort of a second stage countdown to backpedaling because the world begins its ending in.
Oh, I guess it is Harold Camping.
Harold Camping. Okay, so the world begins its descent into the end on May 21st, but this set is actually struck by the stage crew sometime in October. And so we're working with Ask an Atheist on that. And also, we do have an announcement in that way, is that we are actually planning a countdown to backpedaling party. It's going to feature live music. We don't have a lot of details yet, but it is going to be the weekend of the 21st and the 22nd. So you heard it here first. If you're in the Seattle area, mark that off on your calendar. And we'll get you dates, times, and the musical acts which will be playing then.
It's going to be awesome.
I think so.
I think so, too. The interesting thing I've noticed with Countdown to Backpedaling is that this group actually doesn't just make the usual vague claims about the end of the world. They're making some concrete claims, and they're putting dates on them. I don't know if you saw this, but I just noticed this was actually written on the Family Radio website just a couple days ago. It says, it will be on May 21st that God will raise up all the dead that have ever died from their graves. Earthquakes will ravage the whole world, as the earth will no longer conceal its dead. And they say this from Isaiah 26:21. People who have died as saved individuals who experience the resurrection of their bodies and immediately leave this world forever to be with the Lord. That's the part I don't quite understand. Is it saying that they're going to be yanked out of heaven back into the body and then they'll be beamed up all the way?
Right.
Or are they saying that they're alive again for a second?
Either way, this is going to be, geoscientists take note. This is going to show up on seismographs.
Yes.
Even if they're just beamed straight into the afterlife.
And all the dead that have ever died, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people that have been around. It's like, you know how many people died in 9/11? 3,000? A lot more than that. That's a lot of dead people.
I'm laughing at a reference to 9/11.
So I don't know if they're saying that the soul is going to go up to heaven and leave the body behind, so that's still another zombie.
Right.
But they do say that those who died unsaved will be raised up as well, but only have their lifeless bodies scattered around the face of the earth. Death will be everywhere. So what we're talking about is a zombie apocalypse starting at the end of May.
There are a lot of people up in Seattle who like to dress up who will be very happy.
Yeah, I know. Pretty much every dude I know is excited about the zombie apocalypse, so this will probably get him a bit more followers.
That's one of the things around Seattle since I moved here, which I never quite understood. Zombies were not big in Arizona. in the way that they are up here. I mean, you guys have the huge parade up in Seattle.
Which is weird because you would think zombies would do way better in the Arizona climate.
Yeah.
Than here?
They would do. Maybe that's why we're less of a fan there.
They just get kind of wet and bloated here, and they just fall right apart. They probably just kind of turn into like raisins. I think a zombie in the sun after a while would probably kind of look like Keith Richards.
So, I was going to suggest late stage Elvis, but I think I described him like a fungus.
I know that's something one of our hosts, Libby, has said many times when she talked to me. She said that every guy that she has ever known has had some kind of apocalyptic contingency plan.
Yeah.
I mean, the zombies are the really popular one now, and I have to admit that the first time I saw Dawn of the Dead, I went to a shopping mall and I found myself staking the place out, silently.
I have a friend who she has a zombie apocalypse like tote in the back of her car that has a crowbar and it has like packs of food and blankets, and it's like a regular survival pack as well, but it's mainly for zombies. That's why she carries it around.
It's important. You never know.
It's specifically for. I mean, we're on the Pacific Ring of Fire. There's a volcano right there. There are earthquakes, and then locusts. I don't know. I could mention a few other things. There's a valid reason to have a survival kit in the Puget Sound area. I mean, you really should have one everywhere. And, let me get my pocket protector and beanie out again. But back when I was really big into ham radio as a kid, I did a lot of help with disaster relief and communications and stuff like that. So the concept of preparing for a disaster and being ready for when it happens so that you can either help people or get out of Dodge is a good idea. But specifically for the end of the world or zombies, I always kind of assumed I'd be on the dead side.
Yeah, me too. I'm not a good runner.
I do think that a zombie kit would work for pretty much any apocalyptic scenario. I mean, you're sure you're going to have your shoulder pads and your mohawk and your gyrocopter, but I think that it would probably be a good idea to have, like Beth said, just have a crowbar.
Yeah.
It's a good zombie weapon. You can crack a skull with that. And remember, folks at home, if you do encounter a zombie, you've got to kill it by removing the head or destroying the brain.
Zombies, which will never happen.
Oh, I don't think they're going to happen,
Okay.
but I think it's fair as skeptics that we have to take that infinitesimal, tiny little possibility that we may be wrong and say, you know what? What if Harold Camping is right, and we're on the cusp of some sort of George A. Romero style, zombie fest?
And on that positive note, this is Ask an Atheist. Our phone number is 253-584-1480, and right now we're talking about countdown to backpedaling and zombies. Well, we're worried that some folks might be a little tired of this one. Our emails suggest otherwise.
Yeah, no, we get a lot of emails concerning Countdown to Backpedaling. And actually, I want to go ahead and give a shout-out to, let me find his name really quick, Brian. I think his name was Brian. No, Dave. Dave Hardy actually made us a Facebook event page that's become pretty popular pretty fast. So thank you, Dave, for that. But yeah, we get a lot of emails about Countdown to Backpedaling and just different nuances of it. It's fun. It's one of those fun things. Like, for instance, if the dead rise, what's going to happen to my cremated father?
Oh, I think I know.
Is his urn just going to dance around like from Ghostbusters? Or
Yes, the toaster. It's totally going to rattle around. It's probably going to do a little dance. It's like the end of Beetlejuice.
Don't you have to play really upbeat music to make them dance, though? Wasn't that the thing in Ghostbusters?
That was. You have to play happy music, and it'll make it dance. So I guess your dad can do a little jig.
So in my case, I'll have to play Led Zeppelin, and then it'll go crazy.
Well, like I said, this is really popular. We have Brian in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who saw a couple signs. We have Jeff in the Bay Area, who saw a couple signs on I-80 North. Also, Casey from the Bay Area saw some signs. And then Eddie, I like this one because of the serendipity of it all. And Eddie writes, one night I was driving home from work listening to your podcast when all of a sudden I look to my right and I see this, a rapture sound. It makes you wonder, and he provides us with a picture that's kind of dark and kind of foreboding in the light of and we'll put it on the blog, but of one of the rapture signs. Makes you wonder if it was some sort of sign from God.
I love the way that email starts. One night I was driving home and I saw on the side of the road. Doesn't that sound like the beginning of an alien abduction story?
Yeah, actually it kind of does. But again, the wonder if it was some sort of sign from God, I believe we know the answer to that.
Probably
No.
not.
No. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. I think it's a sign from Harold Camping.
Yeah. A sign from Harold Camping. And not in the video game way. And so, yeah, like Countdown to Backpedaling has been very popular, and we'll be continuing, and we got a quick call.
Hey!
Might be familiar to some of you.
Hey, Libby from Seattle.
How you doing?
How are you doing, Libby?
Hi, guys. I just had to say, I am so sick of zombies. I can't believe you guys are talking about zombies on our precious airtime for this show.
Don't blame us. Blame Family Radio. They're the ones who brought it up.
Yeah, they started it. And by the way, if you think you're sick of zombies now, when they're outside your door, imagine how sick you'll be of them.
When they're outside your door, trying to hand you copies of The Watchtower. I mean...
I won't hold my breath. How about that? But you're right. Every guy I've ever talked to, I'm so glad you guys brought that up, because I was like yelling that at the radio as I was listening. Oh, what a surprise! Males are talking about an apocalyptic scenario that involves zombies. Like, seriously. And here's the thing I was thinking. I don't know whether these people really believe that it's plausible or whether it's just fun for them to think about. You know, like when you talk to someone who's really into Christmas,
right,
into Santa Claus, you start to get that creepy feeling where you're like laughing and going along with it, but then you're like, oh my God, I think they really believe in Santa Claus.
I think these people really believe. I mean, the number of people who are quitting their job, and I mean, there doesn't seem to be a lot of money coming back to them. Besides, they give out free bumper stickers and all sorts of kitschy crap on their website. I actually ordered 50 bumper stickers from those people last night for free.
Wow.
No, I mean, I absolutely think that the people who are on board with the Family Radio people really believe. I'm just wondering whether people who think that a zombie apocalypse is going to happen really believe, or whether it's just fantasy for them.
What I don't understand is that glimmer of hope that I often hear from guys, where they talk about it, and they're not just saying, like, oh, that's going to be so scary. They're, excitedly...
I've encountered that, too.
Like, yeah, let's hunt some zombies!
Yeah, exactly, as if they're going to survive.
I mean, odds are you're probably going to be food in that world.
Well, I find it terrifying, but, Libby, we're coming up on the break, so we'll talk to you later.
Well, I'll see you at the party later.
All right.
Yeah, see you, Libby.
Sounds good. You know what? Zombies terrify me, just for the record. The whole post-apocalyptic thing, not my bag at all. I like life. I like the world. I want to make the best of it I can, because, hey, I'm an atheist.
Hey, I just don't want to be chewed on.
This is Wow. This is Ask an Atheist, 253-584-1480. We'll be back after the break.
If you're an atheist or atheist-friendly person and you'd like to join the Ask an Atheist crew after the show for conversation, beer, hot dogs, and brats, it's happening at 5 o'clock at the Red Hot.
The Red Hot specializes in craft beers and delicious hot dogs and brats.
On tap today, Avery Maharaja Imperial IPA, Bear Republic Racer 5 IPA, Airways Brewing First Class IPA, Deschutes Red Chair Northwest Pale, Odin Brewing Freya's Gold, Black Raven Timberlane Brown Porter, Maui Brewing Coconut Porter, Bayreuther Zwickel Keller Beer, Affligem Triple, Anderson Valley Brother David's Double, Old Tacoma Lager, Two Beers Brewing Infused Evo IPA, and on Nitro, Rogue Stout.
Join us at the Red Hot, 2914 6th Avenue in Tacoma.
This is a 21 and over establishment.
You can advertise on Ask an Atheist on the radio, on our website, and in our podcast. People just like you who have the same interests are listening right now, just like you are, and thousands will download this podcast and listen to it later. If you have a product, service, or idea to sell, people here in the Pacific Northwest and people around the world, thousands will hear your message. Let us help you sell your product, service, or idea. Contact us at advertising@askanatheist.tv. That's advertising@askanatheist.tv.
Tacoma Telematics wants to help you connect with your clients. We can give you a top-notch web presence. Tacoma Telematics can take your website to the next level and make it an integral part of your business. But that's not all. We can set you up with VoIP, bringing large corporation phone systems capability at mom-and-pop prices. We build intuitive interfaces to help you manage your resources quickly and efficiently. Take advantage of our holistic approach to helping your business succeed through and with technology. At Tacoma Telematics, we are committed to personal and professional integrity, open communication, and long-term relationships. See us at tacomattelematics.com.
Welcome back. This is Ask an Atheist, 253-584-1480, and our topic for today is the incredibly strange emails who stopped living and became mixed-up zombies. Which, in the short form, is another episode about you. We are interacting with you. So again, email us at askanatheist.tv, give us a call at 253-584-1480, and let's get underway. You've got an email for us.
Yeah, we're going to start out with Robert Moore from the internet. which is the city he's from. Hello, our company is an I'm sorry, I'm going to try not to laugh. Okay. Hello. Our company is an authorized agent for a unique advertising opportunity reaching over 36 is that million?
Million.
That's a million.
Man, consumers, 94% of which are U.S. based. We're able to present our users with a preferred choice whenever they are looking for anything on the major search engines. I seek one source to send the users on our network from the major search engines for different types of ionized bracelets. Please contact me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I love when people send us spam for stuff like that.
Yeah, we've talked about ionized bracelets, haven't we? We've done episodes on ionized bracelets, and as much as I don't like to feed the spammers, I was like, you know what? Yeah, we'll sell them. Ask an atheist. Ionized bracelets. They do not work. Written right on the bracelet.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, warning: product does not work.
Yeah, warning. Maybe with crap embossed right on the bracelet or something.
I would totally wear that. I find it's funny because you can the 36 million consumers. I have to say that probably means it's a Google ad.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
How many people a day use Google? I think everyone.
Yeah.
So you can choose some pretty high number. Maybe we could have them embossed with WWJRD.
JRD.
What would James Randi do?
Ooh. I would have them stamped with disposable income. That would be...
I think we now have a first place. We have a front runner.
Oh.
I'm guessing he didn't know who he was sending it to, but just the idea of somebody...
That's the fun of automated mass email.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's something that a lot of people will find. No matter what you believe, you'll look in your spam folder and think, what? Why would anyone send me that? That's the worst possible...
Oh.
This is probably the most attention this email will receive.
Oh, yeah. I think we may have just spammed all of our viewers.
Sorry.
And by the way, I do know a deposed African prince who needs some help getting money out of a country.
Ask an atheist, 253-584-1480. Why don't we move on?
Oh, please. One from Robin in Arizona says, I'm just now listening to the new episode of Ask an Atheist, and once again, one of the hosts is saying that Arizona isn't an atheist-friendly place. I'm not sure what area of Arizona this host is from. That would be Sam.
Hi.
But I have had zero problems being an open atheist in Tempe, Scottsdale, and the Mesa area. I attend a few group meetings every week, and there are plenty of other skeptics and atheists in the area. Please stop telling your audience that Arizona is as hard as Texas to be an atheist, because that is absolutely false.
And this isn't just Sam. This is Sam and Becky, right? I mean, you both have come to this conclusion, I'm assuming?
Yeah. Like I said, Becky was actually making the transition out of religious belief in Arizona. So obviously it can't be incredibly terrible. But I lived in Arizona for 7 years, and I lived in Tempe and Scottsdale and Mesa and Phoenix. I lived in a lot of the same places she's talking about. And I actually emailed her privately because I wanted to make it clear, I'm not bagging on Arizona. I like Arizona. I needed a change of pace, so I came up here, and I met some great people. But I can tell you, especially right now, I could use some sunshine, which Arizona has a lot of. But my experiences in... Oh, yeah. Okay, Becky wants me to let you know that she was also a non-Christian in Arizona. But, okay.
They'll all get lumped into the same category for some Christians.
Yeah, we are kind of in the same boat. But I can tell you that, especially in Mesa, the largest Mormon population outside of Utah, there's a lot going on there that wasn't very that wasn't very good. I got when I would speak publicly about my atheism, I got shut down a lot. I got into a lot of fights. And I tend to be pretty, especially in Arizona, before I decided to be a part of the atheist visibility movement, because I didn't really think that I should be an activist until I saw the Rational Response Squad thing in 2006. And I'm like, hey, we're not like that. And so I get shut down a lot. I'd lose contracts over it. It was pretty bad. That said, when you're quiet about it, people leave you alone. But that's not really what I want to do. And also, that said, I was in Arizona back in August, and I actually talked about this on the show when I came back. Things are kind of turning the corner in Arizona as far as the atheism visibility movement. There's a new organization in Arizona called the Secular Coalition of Arizona, strangely enough, affiliated with the national organizations. And there was a meetup I went to that was huge. There was a bunch of people there. Robin wanted me to mention the Secular Society at ASU, and that's something we also have to keep in mind. And Tempe has ASU, which is a huge campus and has what you might expect. So I understand her sensitivity there is not wanting to bag on Arizona, and and say that it's terrible for atheists. I haven't seen a lot of change, especially with the last election. There was a whole bit about religion in the last gubernatorial election there, but it is turning the corner, and the atheism visibility movement is really underway there. That said, Texas also has Austin and the atheist experience, so I thought the equivalency worked.
You think it's just that those little islands of change,
right?
But the soup that it's floating in is pretty much the same. It takes a while for it to really reach out to those smaller areas that have fewer people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Phoenix is not a small town. It's several million people, but it's a very socially conservative area, Arizona. It's changing in Phoenix because people are moving there, but it really is a slow change.
But sorry,
well, and I also think that it's important to mention that you can live in the exact same city and have a completely different experience.
That's true.
And even with the internet, everybody thinks, oh, well, you have the internet, everybody should be able to meet up with everybody or whatever. There's still a huge amount of information that you have to wade through, and the things that you're comfortable with and what you're actually looking for might not be what someone else is looking for. So I can say that being an atheist in Auburn, Washington is really easy, and I have a good time with it. I'm also a college student. I also have friends who have similar viewpoints that I do. So someone else who's an atheist in Auburn, Washington might find it to be the least friendly place that they've ever been, and I can't really say that they're wrong. I can just say, well, my experience is different.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it's not necessarily even the city, but just the family you're in. That all it takes is the social structure that you've grown up in. If it completely rejects you and pushes you to the side and you lose all social support, the wrong family can do that. But I think this is the real strength of the atheist visibility movement, is that the more people who come out as atheists make it easier for the next group of people to come out as atheists when they can't just apply these stereotypes about us that they've gotten from their preacher and actually have to start applying them to real people that they know.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I did find a very supportive group of friends down there, many of whom might be listening to this right now. Hello. And so, I definitely had my successes as an atheist there as well as my problems. And I'm really happy to say positive things about Arizona, and I'm really happy to have the other opinion. And given that the movement is kind of getting started up in Arizona, someday I'd actually like to talk about it a little bit more. But I think we've kind of put this one to bed. And I'll go straight into the next email, which is Dylan from Cambridge, Massachusetts. And he says this: I love the show, but you guys say patently too much.
That is patently false.
Patently incorrect.
Patently.
It's patently patent.
I know that I have my own verbal quirks, and I know that I say absolutely a lot.
Yeah.
I say basically a lot. It tends to be just this... It's like punctuation to me, and I do get better. I do pay attention to this. So when you guys do call us on this, I do pay attention. In fact, you actually make me kind of insecure about it. But I do pay attention, and... yeah, patently. I didn't know we say patently. I know we say absolutely a lot.
We say absolutely a lot. We say ridiculous a lot. And surprisingly, we say, oh my God, a lot, too.
Yeah, but I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. No, I mean, not to me. I've tried to switch over to oh my goodness or thank goodness rather than thank God. Mm-hmm. But that one syllable word just has a feeling of power to it.
Well, we are children of the times in which we live. And people...
Yeah, it's part of the culture. You can't really... you can't escape it.
Yeah, that said, I've considered cutting a video of just everybody on the show saying "Oh my God" at one point or another, but just for the fun of it.
That'd be funny.
Well, and it's like I said, this sort of stuff. It's good to hear. We get the occasional. You guys aren't doing so great because everybody's got their opinions.
Hey, they're entitled to it,
Well, to that, I don't get frustrated when people say it to us because I appreciate whatever criticism, constructive or whatever. But when I hear it said to other people who are making a product or putting time into some sort of, like the show that we have, and then someone comes along and says, oh, I don't like what you're doing because it's not what I want you to do, that is very frustrating to me because my response is, why don't you make a show?
I think that's especially true given the atheism visibility movement. We've always said, if you don't like the way we're rolling, roll your own. Because,
yeah, show us how to do it right.
Yeah, and we want to work with people. I mean, it is, with us in the atheist experience, they were really happy to have us around. So.
I think it helps the atheist visibility movement as a whole, as I think it diversifies the movement, not in just terms of style. We're not like the Catholic Church or the Mormon Church or whatever. There isn't like a leadership. So if somebody wants to, in the media, talk to an atheist, there isn't like there's someone they can talk to. They can't like phone up the local archdiocese. They can't call up the local bishop. They can only talk to somebody who just took it upon themselves to set themselves up as a spokesperson for themselves.
Right.
And I think the more spokespeople we have, the better it gets. You see the diversity of us, the diversity of opinion, that we're not all of a certain political persuasion. We're not all of a certain philosophical persuasion. We don't even like all the same TV shows or colors or whatever. In fact, we argue with each other probably more than anyone argues with religious people.
Right, yeah. I mean, you told me the other day about the atheist political party.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're going to go into that more with the politics episode we have planned, but there's a Facebook page that somebody started up for the National Atheist Party. And the thing that I dislike about this, why I think this is a terrible idea, is that ask yourself what a political party does. It takes stands on every issue that's before everyone today. You're going to have a stand on healthcare, you're going to have a stand on abortion, on transportation, on energy, and these are things that atheists are not unified on. I think atheists as a whole have a tendency to be sort of socially progressive, but in terms of economics, we are all over the board.
And on that page, didn't the conversation sort of disintegrate once veganism became a topic, which is something we actually... Do we want to talk about that?
I think we should, if you've been paying attention to the feedback we get.
Is that what we're calling it?
Well, it is feedback.
It is feedback.
I
tease.
I will not go there.
That was Mike, by the way.
Yes, please direct your hate mail to Mike Gillis.
We answered an email at the beginning of this season about the viability of eating meat as an atheist and the moral choices. And we decided that we weren't going to answer that question with a real argument because frankly, we don't really want to talk about it. It's not interesting to us. In a way.
And I think not only that, but it's not something that really has anything to do with atheism or the mission statement of the show. We're about skeptical inquiry, the separation of church and state, and atheism. Yes, it's like we're not going to say anything about the healthcare debate unless it veers towards those topics. Like if somebody wants some sort of crystal healing, Reiki, faith healing stuff as part of a healthcare bill, we'll speak out against that. But we're not. But the discussion of how much influence or involvement should the government have in healthcare decisions, that we're not taking a stand on. I mean, It's all over the board. If you ask your average atheist, you're going to get a billion different answers on that question.
If your morality requires that you avoid animal products, more power to you. You've got, I've heard a lot of really good arguments, and that's good. And, I will support my friends who are vegan. I like to cook, and I spent a non-trivial part of my time learning how to cook for vegan and vegetarians so that when they came over to my house to eat, they weren't just living off of somebody else's side dishes. They had something that they could eat and enjoy.
But that respect has to be reciprocal as well.
Absolutely.
That I will respect their right to not eat meat, but they have to not compare me to a rapist for eating a cheeseburger.
Yeah, the rhetoric gets really old really fast, and I think it's one of the things that stands in the way of having an actual conversation about this topic. I don't mind talking about veganism or vegetarianism or whatever and how it relates to skepticism on my own. But I'm not going to have a conversation with someone who equates me to a murderer because I drink a glass of milk. I don't want to have that conversation.
How quick you are to dehumanize somebody on the other side of the argument. And this is another reason I get so angry when religious believers or leaders are so quick to say that we as atheists are incapable of morality,
right?
Because it's a blanket statement about a group of people. We can make a statement about a philosophy or a book or a way of thinking, but we shouldn't make a statement that's a universal about an entire class of people because it's never true.
Right, right. And this is a show about atheism, and this is Ask an Atheist, 253-584-1480. And I guess to close this one out, we gave them, he was accusing, the guy's name is Josh, was accusing us of censorship and not placing it out there. We gave them a dedicated post on our blog, we talked about it on Facebook, and now we've talked about it on the show. And I'm just going to say one more time, this show is not about vegetarianism, it's not about veganism, it's not about food. This is a show about atheism, skepticism, and the separation of church and state.
And that's why I think like you said, the Facebook thing about the National Atheist Party is that's why it would fall apart. Is that a political party is going to have to take stances on those issues, and the minute you start snowballing in your personal philosophies with something which is really, as we say, a simple definition: no God. I think you start conflating stuff. You can be a skeptic and eat meat. You can be a skeptic and not eat meat.
Yeah.
These things aren't necessarily synonymous.
Well, and it's important, too, that skepticism doesn't mean that we all think the exact same thing. You can be a skeptic and not agree with another skeptic, and neither one of you is a bad skeptic.
He's skeptical of the claims about the necessity of eating meat, and I respect that. I'm skeptical of the claims about not eating meat and morality. Skepticism can go both ways, and it's all, there's sometimes the evidence points to a specific answer, and I think this one's still up for debate. Really.
I think this, like a lot of political issues, it's kind of a matter of opinion. That I think that there's a point where I think that with all public discourse, I think we need to have a consensus on facts, but the difference in opinion comes from where we go forward from that fact. Like, okay, I know that the facts are this about this issue. This is the statistics. These are the facts. Now we have a difference of opinion on how to address it.
And maybe, possibly, we won't have to talk about this one again.
Yeah,
Please.
veganism done.
Merciful Zeus. No, I don't want to talk about
There
this.
are places for that, just not here. This is Ask an Atheist, a show about atheism. 253-584-1480. Our subject for today is you. Once again, the incredibly strange emails who stopped living and became mixed up zombies? ? Be back in a couple.
If you're an
we wanna
atheist or
hit on
atheist-friendly person and you'd like to join the Ask an Atheist crew after the show for conversation, beer, hot dogs, and brats, it's happening at 5 o'clock at the Red Hot.
The Red Hot specializes in craft beers and delicious hot dogs and brats.
On tap today, Avery Maharaja Imperial IPA, Bear Republic Racer 5 IPA, Airways Brewing First Class IPA, Deschutes Red Chair Northwest Pale, Odin Brewing Freya's Gold, Black Raven Timberlane Brown Porter, Maui Brewing Coconut Porter, Bayreuther Zwickel Keller Beer, Affligem Triple, Anderson Valley Brother David's Double, Old Tacoma Lager, Two Beers Brewing Infused Evo IPA, and on Nitro, Rogue Stout.
Join us at the Red Hot, 2914 6th Avenue in Tacoma.
This is a 21 and over establishment.
You can advertise on Ask an Atheist on the radio, on our website, and in our podcast. People just like you who have the same interests are listening right now, just like you are, and thousands will download this podcast and listen to it later. If you have a product, service, or idea to sell, people here in the Pacific Northwest and people around the world, thousands will hear your message. Let us help you sell your product, service, or idea. Contact us at advertising@askanatheist.tv. That's advertising@askanatheist.tv.
Tacoma Telematics wants to help you connect with your clients. We can give you a top-notch web presence. Tacoma Telematics can take your website to the next level and make it an integral part of your business. But that's not all. We can set you up with VoIP, bringing large corporation phone systems capability at mom-and-pop prices. We build intuitive interfaces to help you manage your resources quickly and efficiently. Take advantage of our holistic approach to helping your business succeed through and with technology. At Tacoma Telematics, we are committed to personal and professional integrity, open communication, and long-term relationships. See us at tacomatelematics.com.
Hello again, this is Ask an Atheist. You can contact us or call us at 253-584-1480 or at askanatheist.tv. And our subject today is emails, and Beth has one for us right now.
Yeah, I have one from Katrina, and she's actually emailed us a few times. So hello, Katrina, and thank you so much for your support.
I did appreciate the one she sent me about weddings, and I should probably respond to that one at some point.
Well, that's actually something we should touch on, too. If we haven't responded to you, we do have everything written down. We try to go through it as much as we can, respond to your emails. We do appreciate them, and we hope that you keep sending them. Katrina, you're kind of off the hook because you've sent us a couple, but everybody else, get on it. Katrina says, hey guys, just found your podcast and have only listened to a couple of episodes, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I really liked your comments on atheism, agnosticism. When I left the fundamentalist religion I was raised in, Church of Christ, for a long time I considered myself agnostic. I think it was because I approached it from a very intellectual, philosophical point of view. Since I saw no evidence for God creators, I decided God, as promoted by everyone I knew, was simply unknowable, literally impossible to know, thus faith, which I was always short on. I didn't feel the need to explore atheism for a long time. When I started discovering the atheist community, wow, people like me. We do like you. I realized that I was an atheist. In a practical versus philosophical way, I live my life as if there were no gods. I do not believe in any god or gods. Now I would claim both because they capture multiple aspects of my philosophy. I've noticed something of a trend in atheist communities to dog agnosticism, so I really appreciate your clear discussion of both terms.
I really wanted to get this one out there because we've been dogged about our discussion of belief versus philosophy, action versus belief, where based on the evidence, I'll say this once again, based on the evidence, I'm an agnostic. I think you kind of fall the same way.
Yeah, definitely.
There is no evidence. But when we talk about actions, when we talk about the way we live, the way we exist, we are atheists.
Yeah, I don't pretend to know whether a God exists, but I don't believe there is. And I can say that about a lot of other things I don't believe.
Right.
And the funny thing is, it seems like God seems to be the one topic where you create this third category, this weird middle ground category that people seem to try to gravitate towards. We don't have this with Bigfoot. It's not like people are out there saying, I believe there's a 50-50 chance of Bigfoot and I want to be open about it. They're really not that shy about saying, you know what, I really don't believe in Bigfoot.
Is it agnosticism when you just don't care?
I've heard that called agnosticism before.
Or apathism.
Apathism, yeah. I think that there's if there's anything atheists are good at, it's good for coming up with all these different words for things.
Yeah.
I look at it in terms of atheism is a matter of belief, Gnosticism, agnosticism, matter of knowledge.
Sure.
I don't pretend to know, but I don't believe. And I think that 90% of theists out there are agnostic too. I think if they were honest about it, they'd admit, you know what, I really don't know, but I believe.
Right. Well, I asked about apathism because I guess I'm a Bigfoot apathist. I really don't care. It never really... cryptozoology, I guess, never really hit my brain reading spot, I guess.
If you guys aren't familiar with cryptozoology, it is a study of animals that can't be studied.
Whole conventions of we can't study this animal. It's pretty cool in a fun way. But
very empty zoo.
Yeah, the children are very sad.
the no petting zoo.
Oh, I'm going to make millions.
An entire God of the Gaps facility.
Well, thank you, Katrina, and thank you for your view of atheism and agnosticism, and we're certainly not the kind to bag on agnosticism here, and well, thanks for your email. And we've got another one, this one, Deb from Central Illinois, and I guess it's kind of old home week for me this week, because we've heard from Arizona, and now we're hearing from Illinois, and it goes like this. Greetings, I'm a 50-something atheist housewife who lives in a terminally Christian rural central Illinois. For so many years, I felt like a lonely petunia in an onion patch. I'd like that. That's nice. Then, about a decade and a half ago, I discovered the internet. My reaction was, hallelujah, I'm not alone. Now I get my fix of from kindred spirits on YouTube and Facebook, etc., but I'd like to enjoy face-to-face conversations with other freethinkers. Unfortunately, the only organized group is at least an hour's drive from me, meets in a bar, and would involve a late-night return drive. Can any other listeners from small towns offer tips on how to start a local freethinkers group? I'd love to hear what works and what hurdles can exist. This is an important one, and one I don't really... I mean, I know Central Illinois. I did some work in Bloomington, but that's a rough one. I mean...
I think the easy answer right off the bat is that you're not alone. You're not the only atheist out there, and I think it's like you said with the internet, is you really aren't alone, and I think websites like Meetup are a really big thing when it comes to correcting that misapprehension that people have. I know that Christopher Hitchens, when he did a book tour for God Is Not Great, specifically asked to swing through the Bible Belt in the rural South, and one of the things he found was that when he went to do speaking engagements or debates with some local pastor, half of the audience would be made up of atheists who thought they were the only atheist in town.
Yeah.
I think just putting something up on meetup.com, it doesn't have to be something really big. It doesn't have to be an even formal organization. Just make it a coffee group or a talking group or, hey, let's hang out at a bar and talk group.
Yeah.
It can be just something as simple as that.
That's one of the, there was a group that recently started in my town, which isn't a super small town. But the way that they began, it's Auburn Free Thought Group. And the way that they began was they began as a book group. They would talk about different books that they've read and sort of explain to each other what they contained and sort of have conversations like that. And from those humble beginnings, they're currently growing into a pretty big group themselves. So just getting together, even with one other person initially, could potentially grow into a bigger group. But I don't think it makes sense to have expectations of you're going to send this out there and then a bunch of people are going to come and it's going to be something right away. A lot of these groups, and we know this, from our own experience too, it begins often as one or two people and sort of becomes what it's going to become after a fashion. And that's patience, I think, is a big aspect of that, of creating one of those groups. And then also, like Mike said, Meetup is a really good one. Craigslist,
yeah, Meetup
is a really good one.
Meetup, we just started our own Meetup group, in fact, if you want to talk about that.
And you said Craigslist as well?
Yeah, Craigslist. If you can be a prostitute on Craigslist, you could probably be an atheist on Craigslist.
Whoa.
No connection between the two.
Okay. Wow. So, yeah, Meetup is good. Meetup, however, costs. There's also Craigslist. And since you've contacted us for help, we'll hope the listeners have something to say about this, and we'll make sure that gets back to you. And if you start up your Meetup there and you want us to give you a shout out on it, I'm certainly not against it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So keep us posted on how that goes.
All right. I know that I wanted to talk about this in this hour. This is a book that's come out in the past couple months. It's getting a lot of attention. It's this book called Heaven is So Real. It is so real, man.
Okay.
You have no idea.
It sounds like something that a kid would write.
It is, actually, but not really. It's this kid named Colton Burpo who's going to be tormented throughout his junior high years. He's this 4-year-old kid. He's the son of an evangelical preacher. He went in to have his appendix removed, and he believes he had a near-death experience. And this book is what he wrote, transcribed to his dad, the preacher, as his experience in heaven, meeting Jesus and meeting his daughter, or not his daughter, but his sister, an older sister who had been a miscarriage. And now here's the thing that I wanted to say about it is that I don't buy this. Not only because I don't buy the normal things that people toss out there about near-death experiences, that we all know that nobody has a near-death experience. It contradicts their pre-given beliefs. A Catholic's not going to have. They're not going to see Lord, Brahma in their near-death experience. But the claims that this preacher is making, he's the guy who really wrote this. This is not the first childish book that he has ghost-written for. He also wrote Going Rogue, Sarah Palin's campaign biography.
Oh, burn.
But this is somebody who's an evangelical preacher, and he's making claims that there are things that his kid saw in heaven that he had no way of knowing. Things like about, Jesus having open wounds on his hands. Like, okay, he's already dead. His fan club's already here. Can we just close those wounds?
Right.
I guess he sat on Jesus' lap like Santa Claus at one point. These are things about heaven that he claims that his kid could not have known. And I don't buy that at all.
That's the part that throws me. The idea that he's raised in a family, in a ecclesiastical a family of some do we know what distribution of Christianity
I don't know what it
is?
It's an evangelical
Yeah,
strain.
they just said evangelical. They didn't really.
And somehow his dad's a preacher and preaches, and he never picked up on all of this Christian ideology and this Christian mythology?
I mean, kids are sponges, and this guy has been seeped in Jesus since he was born. I can't believe there's an evangelical preacher who doesn't bring his kid to church.
Right.
I mean, Beth, you're a parent. Has your son ever said something you're like, how the hell does he know that?
All the time. Yeah. No, that constantly happens. And the thing is in this story, this kid, he has a living older sister, in addition to the one that they lost. And the idea that children don't talk to each other, that the older sister may not have told the younger brother that they had another sibling that died, or talk to them about any of these subjects, about the grandfather or anything like that, it's ridiculous. If you have kids, they talk to each other. And they pay attention when you talk, even when you don't think that they're listening. So, no, this is ridiculous.
I mean, his dad sells Jesus for a living.
Yeah.
And people who are very, very religious tell their kids. They bring their kids in it. They seep their kids like a tea bag in hot water in Jesus. And I can't believe he didn't pick it up. Oh, he doesn't know what heaven looks like. He's never seen a picture of crucified Jesus. BS. Yes.
Yeah.
That kid
Yeah.
saw it somewhere. How
That's
could you
not true.
I wasn't raised in a particularly religious family, and I was familiar with that mythology by the time I was this kid's age. And I guess this brings up the question, you guys. This is a situation which kind of bothers me, and I can talk endlessly about, but this is another instance of a religious person using a child as a human shield.
Absolutely.
Oh, it boils my blood. As a parent, it's the worst. It's the worst thing that you can do as a parent, to bring your kid into your weirdness.
Yeah.
It's a cheap tactic, too. I mean, imagine for a minute. I mean, Christopher Hitchens is someone who has 3 children. Imagine if instead of going into some Christian conference and bringing the ponage, what if instead he had one of his daughters go up and insult them and tell them all about their religion? The idea being, of course, that you're going to be so afraid to be mean to this child that you're going to hold back criticism.
I live on a major thoroughfare in Tacoma, and there are known ex-witnesses in my building, and at one time in my unit. And I get mad now. They bring these kids around because they want them, because they figure people will act better, and they won't swear or show up naked when there are kids around. I don't do that, and I never did that, because I like to have some level of class, just a little bit. But I do get mad. And the thing is, and this is what I said the last time it happened, is you realize that you're putting your child in danger. Is that you're dragging your kid to houses of people, you don't know what kind of people they are. They're meeting folks, and your mythology says that people are dangerous and bad and not of heaven and things like that. And it's what is your deal?
Well, look, if you are engaging in an activity where people are regularly abusive as a response, and your idea to try to fix this situation is to bring your kid along, there is something wrong there. That is not a good idea. That is, like, in the history of bad ideas of parenting, that's a pretty bad idea. Why would you do that if you were a parent? Oh, this might be dangerous. I know what I'll do. I'll bring Tristan along. Absolutely not.
Your kids just become a chess piece for something. This is the thing that bothers me, when people use their kids to try to pick a fight with a school board over things like evolution, or science, that they basically plant a kid simply so that they can get angry. It's just using your kid for your political. It's not right.
And the thing is that they do it so that to protect themselves from harm. But the thing is, I like those pamphlets. I like collecting them. I think they're interesting. I have them in several languages, and I never got mad at people going around. I mean, sometimes I was short with them. I'm in the middle of something. A couple times. Yeah, I'm actually in the middle of editing a show called Ask an Atheist. Would you like to come in and watch?
Yeah, but I think the weird definition of harm that these people sometimes have, they think that simply you wouldn't be afraid to disagree with them in front of their kid. It's just wrong. But anyways, I guess the other thing too is that, if you're a parent and you have a kid, and especially if you're somebody who does religion for a living, your kid is absorbing stuff that you don't even realize.
Think we got time for one more?
I think we got time for one more. What have we got?
Go ahead.
We have Cody Sharon. I hope I'm saying that right. Sharon. Sorry. He has a question about Zeitgeist.
Oh.
Now, if you don't know, I'm going to give a little backstory. I know we don't have much time, but Zeitgeist is a movie. It's really famous on the internet. I'm not sure what group put it out. But they're basically 9/11 truthers who cherry pick information to try to propose arguments against Jesus existing, which I have my qualms about whether or not Jesus existed, but it's sort of a patent, at least for me, it's an example of doing it wrong. I'm not a fan of this movie, and I'm glad that Cody actually emailed about it, but this is what he has to say. This is a bit off topic from religion, but I was listening to one of your podcasts, the one called Atheism is Not a Religion, and I heard you mention the movie Zeitgeist, and I hope we groaned when we mentioned it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you meant the first film, which I haven't personally seen, but I have watched the other two. They came out with Zeitgeist Addendum and Zeitgeist Moving Forward. If you hadn't seen these films, I would recommend them, but if you have, I really want to hear your opinion of them. I'm only 17, and this film truly inspired me that this world could be better and cleaner and a much more energy-efficient place. I'm against war. I've never tried drugs, blah, blah, blah. He's a senior in high school, going to school for computer programming, and he's asking us for our opinion on that movie. Go.
Well, much like most conspiracy theories, there's always a little bit of truth. There's always a kernel of truth. The world could be better and cleaner. There's always room for improvement.
Oh, could it ever?
Yeah, I don't believe in perfection.
I guess my issue with it is that everything quickly goes to these improbable conspiracy theories. Yes, there's no contemporary evidence for Jesus' existence during his life. There's really bad historical evidence of any kind. However, I don't think Jesus was a conspiracy theory, as Zeitgeist says. We've also done entire episodes about why the 9/11 truth thing does not hold water. I would say that if you see something that inspires you, especially if it's something you really want to believe, instead of just believing it, look at some of what the other people are saying. There are some really, really thorough debunking websites on Zeitgeist. I recommend you check them out. With any idea, look at what the other side is saying.
Be very, very cautious of your own bias.
Yeah.
That's my number one. If you're a young kid and you're not sure, go to the library. Becky pointed out, and this is true, those librarians at your schools, they are trained to be able to teach you how to verify information. So go and ask them and see what they have to say. Definitely, especially if you read something and you feel like it really makes a lot of sense, but you haven't done the appropriate or any sort of looking into the facts, make sure that you're checking the facts, especially if you really agree with it, because confirmation bias works on everyone. No one is exempt.
Absolutely. I appreciate your attitude that work can be done and we need to move forward. And I really like hearing that. But when we have scientific claims or claims about how the world works or claims of conspiracy, you have to be very careful and you have to check your facts. And Wikipedia is not necessarily fact-checking. So, well, that's about the time we've got. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Ask an Atheist is a production of NEDM Media. Our call screener was Becky Friedman. Our assistants were Scott Leopold and Jerry Schiffelbein. Again, you can contact us whenever you like at askanatheist.tv. You guys have a good day.